What's up, Zoxaskun? We're back with some more Etheria Restart. Now, we're going to be getting into a character overview of the Archeron Lycrosis Beyontin. Now, this is a very interesting character because unlike a lot of the other characters that we've reviewed so far, she's actually a character that plays her singular role, but she does it extremely well. Now, when we're looking at what Beyontin is, she is purely a support, and specifically a reviving support. Now, when we're actually looking at what she's able to do, looking at the skill 1, the Bloom Sonata, now she basically will play her final piece. Beyontin deals 240% damage to a single enemy and increases the strike prep by 25% for the ally with the lowest strike prep. So basically it's going to allow you to make it to where a character that is maybe trailing along a little bit slower, typically DPS, will be able to keep up with the remaining of the party. Now, also you have the skill 2, the Soul Whirl. So as Crimson Ashes burn, the withered flower blooms again. Beyontin makes one allied Animus or Animuses immediately start their next turn and reduces their Animus skill cooldown by 2 turns, and can be used on fallen allies to summon their spirits to immediately start their next turn and reduce their skill cooldown by 1 turn. If Beyontin has Underworld Flower, she consumes 1 stack of Underworld Flower to revive them with 50% of their max HP. Otherwise, the ally spirits will disappear after acting. So basically what Underworld Flower is going to be doing is each stack decreases damage taken by an additional 5%, and after taking action, for every 1 dead ally, consumes 1 stack of Underworld Flower to revive them, recovers 40% of their max HP, and then further increases the strike prep by 35% up to 5 stacks. So with this ability, it's basically going to be enabling her in a couple of different things. Basically making it to where your team comp is taking less damage. She's able to utilize this to revive, and then also being able to turn manipulate or strike prep boost. So that one ability is giving you all that. And that's not even considering the fact that she's able to reduce cooldowns when this ability is utilized. Well, at least specifically this skill 2 is being utilized. Now, when we go into the skill 3, the Karma Abyss, along the path walked, flowers of the other shore bloom in full. Beyontin applies a 2-turn attack up and crit damage up to all allies and gains 2 stacks of Underworld Flower for herself. Now, the thing about this is that this is basically enabling her to buff damage dealers. Specifically, units that are going to be more than likely following up after her, because otherwise, if you say proc this beforehand, then there is a possibility you won't get to utilize this, especially in a PvP scenario. But when you're looking at like PvE, this is just a great way for you to have a character that's overlaying buffs, considering that there are a lot of different characters that will take advantage of there being multiple buffs on their party and members. So that's something that I really feel like gives her a ton of value. And then you're able to basically have the initial proccing of the Underworld Flower, which basically makes her ready and able to resurrect right away. Now, as far as module recommendations, I would definitely say that some of the ones that you could use in the early game would definitely be ones like Swift Rush, and even into in-game, this could also be applicable, where you're basically going to be getting a speed value increase of 35% on a 12 matrix bonus. I would say, of course, you can use ones like Wellspring, which Wellspring on a 12 matrix bonus is going to be giving you 45% HP. And then as you start to develop your build on your Beyontin, some that I could recommend would be like Bloodbath, which gives an effect res increase of 18%, and when taking cumulative damage greater than 20% of max HP in a turn, the excess damage is further reduced by 60%. And then once you're able to actually do things like Cataclysm, Colossal Guard would actually be a highly recommended module piece and matrix bonus that I would go for, which is basically going to be giving a defense increase of 25% with an effect res increase of 20%. Of course, if you're looking for speed, then you'll have to consider ones like Swift Smite or Swift Raid, but keep in mind that you really would only be emphasizing the speed. You really wouldn't be trying to aim for the accuracy or the attack value. Now, when we're looking at main stat and substat percentages that you can aim for with Beyontin, I would definitely say HP%, and HP% would be really good for her. You could definitely mix in things like effect res if you want to, but that really honestly just depends on how much effect res that you really have at that given moment, considering that it does cap at 100. Now, as far as substats, I would highly recommend things like effect res, speed, HP, defense, just to name a few. I feel like those would actually be high value stats for a character like Beyontin. Now, as far as skill prioritization, I would definitely say the skill 3 would be number 1, with it in the first node, increasing the HP recovery through the Underworld Flower to 40%. The second node will actually be increasing the number of Underworld Flower stacks to 2. The third node will increase the strike prep boost through the Underworld Flower to 35%. And the final node will be reducing the skill cooldown by 1 turn. Next up would be the skill 2, which in the first node will increase your HP by 4%. Then in the second node, when applied to a dead unit, it will reduce their skill cooldown by 1 turn. The third node increases the reduced skill cooldown to 2 turns. And then finally, in the last node, it reduces skill cooldown by 1 turn. And then lastly, we have the skill 1, which in the first node increases damage multiplier to 220%. The second node will increase the effect of strike prep boost to 15%. The third node will increase damage multiplier to 240%. And then the final major node will increase the effect of strike prep boost to 25%. Of course, we couldn't forget our shell recommendations. Starting out in the early game for Shadowrunner, I would definitely say the Unbridled Science is going to be great. Star, Mermaid Princess, Diamond Heart, Black Flag, Shanghai Jing, Blizzard, Gigabyte, Alicorn, Codex of Magic, and then lastly, you'll have Lighthouse. Now, as far as our pros and cons for Beyontin, I would definitely say some of the biggest pros is that, one, she's the only unit in the game currently at this recording where she can full res an entire party. The other things that I think really make her very unique and just extremely powerful is the fact that she can reduce skill cooldowns. She also has a ton of damage buffing with giving the attack up and the crit damage buff. So it basically can make her really, really well suited for any composition where she's going to be assisting and helping scale the overall damage. And then on top of that, if she's able to get the reses off, then she's going to be able to push further the strike prep, which is just going to help with rotations, which leads to more abilities being proc, more debuffs landing, and more damage being done. I feel like overall for what she does, she isolates and solo focuses on that one thing, and she does it extremely well. Now, when we're talking about cons, I feel like Beyontin has some of the fairly unique cons in the game, because I guess there's some situations where in speed clear comps, she just wouldn't be the better slotted unit just because she's not able to really take advantage of her strike prep, for example, unless a unit dies and she resurrects them. Or even if we're looking at, like, for example, the idea of how much value she adds outside of the buffing, she's not really going to be doing damage. So in some cases, there's not a lot of buffing that really needs to happen. It just needs to be more DPS. So I guess she could fall out of like the quote unquote meta for those types of strats. But I definitely will say that another thing, and this is what really makes a con very unique for her, is that her revive is actually a double-edged sword. And the only reason why that is because it actually can be stolen. There's nothing that says and presents that it can't be removed or that this is only exclusively to her. There is a character in the game that can steal this buff, Veronica, and because of that, that actually ends up being one of the biggest counters that she has in this entire game, is that someone could literally steal her buff and use it against her. So that's basically going to be that on Beyontin. Again, I hope that this video was able to give you a little bit more insight on how exactly you can apply and maybe even build this character. So of course, as always, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more amazing guides like this and other content all engulfed and around Etheria Restart. So with that, guys, everyone, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.